worked with Barry. Feel free to mention any thoughts about him, but he had a lot of friends in the music community and the arts community as well as the political community, and he's very proud about his heritage as well. So I'm really excited that we have a Son Jorocho band for his memorial.
Thank you. honoring Barry. Thank you, Robert, for inviting us to be a part of this. I think, you know, this music is also Jorocho, if you're not familiar with it. It's from Veracruz, Mexico. But, you know, really, the essence of it is rooted in community. It's rooted in coming together. It's a music that is very spiritual and that transcends, you know, I would say a couple different dimensions. And so this music really is a way to accompany the livings and experiences that we go through on this earth. So, you know, this is the music that is also used to commemorate loved ones that have passed and also celebrate. So, you know, this is really important for us to be here because, you know, he was very, very special and very important. And so, you know, this is what we can do for these kind of moments. And so we're very, very happy to be here. So, viva Barry. Que viva.
centuries old, used for our celebrations of life, our celebrations of death, used to pray, to ask for rain, to ask for cool weather, to ask for the things that we need for our land, for our communities. And here in the U.S. in particular, this is a music that has accompanied a lot of social struggles, a lot of movements, and that's kind of the place that this music and us met and engaged Barry through specifically the fair food movement. So this is a music that has played a really big part in some of the food justice struggles that we have in this country, specifically with the Coalition of Immokalee Workers, an organization in Florida that has kind of had some Jorocho accompany its actions, its campaigns for decades. And so when we were back here in Chicago organizing around some of the CIW actions here, that's when we kind of got in contact, introduced to Barry through that work, and were able to form the Chicago Fair Food Alliance, along with Roberto, along with Iliana, Amy, some other individuals who are here and not here, and Barry was always number one at the meeting, always on time, always present, always just offering up his heart, his energy, his spirit for whatever was needed. And so it was just a really special time that we got to share together, being able to organize together around some of this, these movements, but also us kind of coming from this artistic music side, always bringing our music, our art as a part of that, as a soundtrack, if you will, for some of that work, and very definitely a great appreciator of that. And so just echoing what Lara said, for us it's really special, it's really important to be able to be here and share these songs, share this music as an offering to him, an offering to his transition, and to his family, to his friends, to his loved ones who are all here today. And yeah, we hope that these songs help take him to where he needs to go next.
celebration of his life, and it's a beautiful thing to be able to remember him and appreciate and reflect, but also to be in joy of remembering him, right? And so, we're going to play this song called La Bamba, which, is internationally known, but it's actually traditionally, it's top charts. But it's a traditional son jarocho. So, this music, if you feel like bouncing in your chair or dancing, think of Barry and, just seeing him here bouncing around and dancing. Thank you so much, and thank you, Robert, for having us.
Gracias.
something wrong with this situation. I need everyone, whether it's a glass. Can you hear me okay?
Help people out. That's as far as it goes.
Stay close to here.
Stand by Barry. All right. If everyone could grab, whether it's a drink of water, or a soda, or a glass of boxed wine, or beer. We got to rectify this situation before we start our remembering of Barry Romo. So I'm going to give everyone a few minutes to rectify the situation, and then we'll start. I'm gonna start this off. May I have your attention? We're gonna start this off. We want to give everyone the opportunity to say something, and that's important for people to be able to process this, to be able to honor Barry. Congressman Chuy Garcia gives his regards. He did stop by, and he made he honored Barry in Congress this past week, and he gave us copies of him being honored by Congress. For those who don't know, Barry and Chuy Garcia knew each other for decades and were both a part of the Harold Washington movement, which laid a lot of the groundwork for the progressive movement of today. And Barry was right in the thick of things on the right side of history, and he would have definitely appreciated the acknowledgement from Chuy Garcia. So I did want to mention that. And before, I would also like to acknowledge Malaya Skypes and Hans Buwalda, who would have liked to be here. They send their regards and they say hello. And today we gather to say goodbye to our brother and friend, Barry Romo. A friend, a co-worker, a longtime mentor, and a comrade to many of us. I met Barry in 2007 and spent many evenings staying out late, going to music shows, and going to bars. We went to numerous political events. We watched prestige shows like True Detective and The Walking Dead, the early seasons. He really didn't like Shane, The Love Triangle. He was very bothered by it. And we shared meals all around the city, but especially at Taqueria Moran, or as Aaron Hughes would say, Cafe Moran.
Breakfast with Barry.
Breakfast with Barry, thank you. But since meeting Barry in 2007, he said something he really meant and repeated it throughout the years I knew him. He's living on borrowed time, and he is truly grateful to make it into his 60s and 70s. There are many times he didn't think he would survive Vietnam after he enlisted. He also talked about how scared he was to be in Vietnam during the Christmas bombings, and that he was lucky to survive those bombings as well. He was deeply troubled by both experiences. There are times he didn't think he would survive the political turmoils of the 70s, the beatings by police, which he received several. You know, he was very courageous. And his international peace trips, which were also often very dangerous. But he did survive, but he lost so many friends along the way. VVAW members who died far too young: Clarence Fitch, Jack Mikowski, Dave Curry, Annie Bailey, and Bill Davis. The IVAW experienced similar losses, and we say their name too. Thomas Young, Joshua Castile, Anthony Wagner, Jacob George, and most recently, Leonard Shelton. While Barry mourned these friends, he endured for so long, and he was so grateful for his extra years. Despite these tremendous losses, he always remembered, he always memorialized his lost friends and made sure to keep their stories alive. To honor the work of his friends, to maintain the social memory of so many people who were part of the movements for peace and economic justice. And now it's our turn to memorialize Barry Lewis Romo, brother, son, uncle, father, unionist, organizer, and a Vietnam veteran against the war. Like he did for countless before him, on Memorial Day, it's our turn to honor his social memory, to keep his spirit alive, to share the stories of his life, to talk about the social, political, and moral quandaries that Barry experienced and lived and grappled with. The fire and the spirit of his life lives through all of us here today. Look around. Give someone a hug, because Barry loved hugs. No one's gonna hug each other? Barry wasn't afraid to cry and share his feelings either. Even when it seemed like the entire world told him to repress his feelings, to repress his guilt, his fear, his pain, Barry shared and expressed these feelings despite a tremendous amount of pressure not to do so. This courage ended wars. It saved his life, and it gave him extra years, maybe decades, and he helped so many countless others on his journey. I love Barry as a friend, despite the arguments. His notorious stubbornness, and a few things I won't mention. Today, anyway. Despite some of these shortcomings, he helped countless people, oftentimes when people in our community were most in need, when they were at the end of their rope, when they were facing their most difficult challenges. Barry was there. We should never forget that he was there for so many people in our community and beyond. He also courageously spoke out against a cruel experience that haunted and hurt him for the rest of his life. The cruelty that sends 18 and 19-year-olds to war. On the left, we often seek to grow our union membership, and dues-paying community members. I am a fundraiser, I'm sorry. But Barry wanted to be the last generation of combat veterans. When younger generations of veterans came home, it hurt him tremendously. But he dug deep and he continued to help people. He changed lives and he told his story and he never stopped and he never gave in. This, he told me, is what kept him alive for so many years after he came home. After Bobby, after the pain he felt from Vietnam, for the rest of his life, every single day. As we take our turn to do what Barry did for so many before him, memorialize him, I say let's honor his commitment to help people, to make the world a better place. He in fact outlived so many of his friends, and every year the beautiful VVAW community has gotten smaller and smaller. Many would have loved to be here today, but could not out of concern for their health. We remember these friends too. Hello online. We know they're here in spirit. When we speak of the legacy of Barry Romo, I believe helping others, even when it is very hard to do so, is a central part of his legacy. Something he carried forward from his ancestors, and a legacy we can celebrate and bring forward in our own life's journey. Let's stay involved. Let's do political work and organize to address the underlying problems of our world. This is how we can keep the spirit and social memory of Barry Romo alive. And let's remember that as we do this, he would have wanted us to mourn and to acknowledge him because he would have understood the importance of holding on to his precious memory. But Barry also knew how to, and he loved to party. And he would also have wanted us to have fun and celebrate today too. Despite the real struggles and pain, he lived a dignified, important, and a very fun life, one that lasted much longer than he would have ever imagined. For everyone online, for those who will be listening to this video afterwards, to all in the room, whether it's a glass of water, or a soda, or we have box wine, which was his favorite. I don't know why he liked that stuff.
And 33 beer.
And 33 beer. Barry, presente. Viva Barry!
Viva Barry!
Long live Barry Romo!
Long live Barry Romo!
Salud!
Salud!
Barry vive, la lucha sigue, sigue.
Barry vive, la lucha sigue, sigue. So we want to open it up. Would anyone like to come up and say something? Cesar.
Hard to follow Roberto because everybody loves Barry, has some story, and I want to continue because I went off script when I was speaking earlier, but now I'm going to tell you part of my interview from Columbia College from my oral history class, and I'm going to tell you how I continue telling you how I met Barry Romo from the interview, from his story from Vietnam, and it's very candid. But for everybody that doesn't know Barry Romo, which is hard in this room, very hard, but I'm going to start from when Barry Romo, before he went to Vietnam, and when Barry Romo was with his father, and from my interview when Barry Romo was with his father, he told me his father sat him on his lap and he hugged him and he said, "Why do you have to do this? Why do you have to go?" And Barry Romo said this is something he felt he had to do. father hugged him and told him he loved you, and he cried. And Barry went to Vietnam. That was one of the questions I had to ask him in this interview for oral history, which one of going to Washington, D.C., the archives. And I felt it as a veteran, and I felt it because it's one of our main things as veterans that we do. And that's why I love this man, because as veterans, we do what we have to do. But we, if you want to call it love of country, I think we do it for love of family. We do it for, love of each other. And also another part that I remember, one of the many questions we're talking over 20 years ago, that I remember is when one of them, as he was a lieutenant, he knew, guiding his men in war, he said, we're not going out there tonight. If we go out there tonight, we're all dead. We're staying here. I don't give up flying what they told us we have to do. We're staying here tonight. He went against his orders because he wanted to protect his men. And as an infantry veteran, I understand what that meant. He loved his man. He knew his mission, but he said, F that, we're staying here because we're staying alive. And there's times when you know that, you know what, this country sends you to do stupid things. And he loved this man, he loved his country like he loved everybody, VVAW, IVAW, and everybody that's here. And why he continued even after Vietnam to fight, because Barry is the kind of person they continue to fight for veterans. I'm 100%. I have brain surgery. And that's the kind of person Barry is. And he still is, because he's in my heart. He's in all of our heart. He continued to fight for, Agent Orange. He continued, he's a great person. He will never be forgotten. He's part of us. And that's why when I finished my speech, I said, you know what, we need more Barry Romos. Because to retract a little bit, when his brother passed away and he had to bring him back in a casket, he was mad because of all the fake lies about the Vietnamese are anti-Catholic, other than the Michelin, about all the lies that he had been fed. And he was an intelligent man, even at his age, and he was a lieutenant. He knew. He went into country Vietnam, and he was like, what were they talking about that all this the Vietnamese were doing, so anti-American and anti-this. He knew it was a bunch of bullshit and a bunch of lies, and he knew they were there for the wrong reason. But he had a mission to accomplish, and he was there under false pretense. Barry Romo had to do what he needed to do until his brother was killed, and he had to come back with, and he knew that I just feel in my heart that God kept him in here as long as he could, so he could accomplish this great thing of helping other veterans, other people to have their eyes open to see what we need to do, which is not wars, which is people bringing more love into this world and stop wars, because that's the kind of person Barry Romo was. He made you see the reality, you had to accept it, and you have to do something about it, because this is not the way of the world. The way of the world is not wars. Bring more love into the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Cesar. I think Michael Applegate and then this gentleman to my right is going to say something. A couple announcements. All of this is from Barry's apartment. The memorabilia, it is free, so you should take it. If you want to make a donation, that would be great, but we did really awesome on our GoFundMe and we hit our goal. So thank you to everyone who contributed to that.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Applegate. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran and member of Iraq Veterans Against the War. I met Barry probably about 15 years ago, right before the Winter Soldier testimonies in Silver Springs, Maryland. And today I'd like to honor my friendship with Barry through a special poem by Longfellow called "The Seaside and the Fireside."
The mic up closer to your mic.
As one who, walking in the twilight gloom, hears round about him voices as it darkens, and seeing not the forms from which they come, pauses from time to time, and turns and hearkens. So walking here in twilight, O my friends, I hear your voices softened by the distance, and pause and turn to listen as each sends his words of friendship, comfort, and assistance. If any thought of mine or sung or told has ever given delight or consolation, ye have repaid me back 1,000-fold by every friendly sign and salutation. Thanks for the sympathies that ye have shown. Thanks for each kindly word, each silent token that teaches me when seeming most alone. Friends are around us, though no word be spoken. Kind messages that pass from land to land. Kind letters that betray the heart's deep history, in which we feel the pressure of a hand. One touch of fire, and all the rest is mystery. The pleasant books that silently among our household treasures take familiar places, and are to us as if a living tongue, spice from the printed leaves and pictured faces. Perhaps on earth I shall never behold, with any eye of sense, your outward form or semblance. Therefore to me ye will never grow old, but will forever young in my remembrance. Never grow old, nor change, nor pass away. Your gentle voice will float on forever. When life grows bare and tarnished with decay, as through a leafless landscape flows a river. Not chance of birth or place has made us friends, being often times of different tongues and nations. But the endeavor for the self-same ends, with the same hopes and fears and aspirations. Therefore, I hope to join your seaside walk, saddened and mostly silent with emotion, not interrupting with intrusive talk, the grand majestic symphonies of ocean. Therefore, I hope, as no unwelcome guest at your warm fireside, when the lamps are lighted, to have my place reserved among the rest, nor stand as one unsought and uninvited. Thank you.
My name is John. I'm from the Barry's generation. I believe him as a friend for many, many, many years. I believe there's as many Barry stories as there are people here, if not more. I further believe a significant number of these stories are true. Here's mine. As the war in Iraq was breaking out, a massive anti-war demonstration was held in downtown Chicago. Of course, Barry and the vets were there. One of the indications of a great leader is also being a great tactician. Barry, along with others, assessed the situation to determine that our numbers were huge, and decided that despite the authorities' requirement that we stay in the plaza, it was time to march. And march we did. Into the streets, off we headed, and the next thing you know, we've shut down northbound Lakeshore Drive. The cops basically became traffic police, overwhelmed by the sheer numbers of people and how well disciplined everyone was. They were directing traffic, and we took over the street. Taking over things was something that Barry was a great champion of and did a wonderful job. But assessing the situation was a skill he had acquired over many, many years. As we rounded the bend of Lakeshore Drive, Barry sensed something that was wrong. And he saw we were walking into a trap. I don't know if any of you were there, but you'll remember that the police set up a blockade and trapped hundreds of people, brought in buses, shipped people off to essentially detention centers for the rest of that day, if not longer. Lawsuits developed over this, but Barry, me, and my wife were not there because Barry, sensing this, said, wrap up the banner and turn around. He was smart enough, wise enough, and experienced enough to know when to hit the street, and he knew when it was time to close it up and stay to fight another day. He's a great fighter. I'm going to miss him.
Mic on? Hello, brothers and sisters. My name is Robin Potter. Thank you. I'm going to keep it really, really brief. I met Barry in 1975. So my youth is showing, and that's okay. And the last time I met Barry was about 2 months ago when Amy Potter, my daughter, and I went to dinner with him in his favorite restaurant and back to the apartment and the whole thing. But just some lessons that we keep in our hearts and teach our children and carry it on, because that's what we're here to do as people in the movement, to carry it on, mourn, don't mourn, organize, as Margaret has done so much, and the rest of us too. In 1976, how many of us marched on Philly? Shunas, Ellie, John, Marsh, and now, we said there was this song we had from this group that worked in the movement. We have fed you all for 1,000 years, and yet we are still unfed. Have we been to the west side and the south side? Is our work done? Would Barry say our work is done? And that's the legacy I hope we all keep. And of course, Joan was there and Bill in Philly. So I think I had the honor and the challenge of being VVAW's lawyer for a very long time, a decade too, I don't know who counts. And Barry was always, being a movement lawyer is hard because we're agents of the movement. We are not the engineer or the genius, and Barry was the genius. And so when I was tasked with something that I thought was so simple as a trial lawyer to stop people from stealing VVAW's trademark and infringement, it wasn't easy, but Barry read everything. He was there, he instructed us, and we did right, got the trademark back. But it was a long haul, and he was always in for the long haul. So what wasn't easy was fine, because that was the movement and that was the struggle. So having movement clients like we all do and being part of a movement was really important, because we knew what we were doing and building futures like a lot of people in this room do. So I just want to say, pass it on. My son Jackson Potter was trained a lot by Barry, so was my daughter Amy, who met with Barry all the time, where she works at Jesse Brown VA and organized there. So teach your children well, keep up the struggle. Remember Gaza. We have a lot to do, guys, and in Barry's name, even though he wasn't well when we went out with him 2 months ago, that was his message, carry it on. So thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Adelena Marshall, and I do represent National Nurses.
There we go.
National Nurses United at Jesse Brown, and Amy and she represent another union. I want everybody to know that our union contract states that we're there for protecting our veterans, for being a voice for our veterans. We have an open shop, so people don't have to join the union. However, I meet with every nurse that comes in there, every RN, and I ask them, why are you here? There are a few that may say, I'm here for the benefits. And we tell them that you don't belong here. If you're not here for the veterans, you do not belong here. We had nurses leave during COVID. They abandoned our patients. They're trying to come back into the VA. We don't want them because you abandoned our veterans who did not abandon us at a time when they're fighting for everybody's freedom. So I want to say that Barry and the veterans, Vietnam Veterans Against the War, came out and supported us. But even the thought of them coming to Jesse Brown VA, they had agreed to hire 20 new RNs there. We have to understand that our veterans are coming in with a lot of comorbidities. So when they start talking about staffing methodology, I call it staffing mythology, because they are not taking into consideration that every veteran needs more time now to be cared for. Many of them come in with mental health issues, but that is not their presenting diagnosis. They may have heart problems, they may be diabetics, they have a slew of other ailments that come along with aging. Our Vietnam veterans are now, in my group, we're aging. And so we have to understand that they do need more care. Right now, the VA is at a hiring freeze, even though we never met the amount of staffing, including social workers and support staff, that we need to support the programs that the VA have. They have wonderful programs, but they find themselves over budget, and we have to all ask why. Our veterans are our national monument to the world, how we care for our veterans. And so while we can get out and protest and walk and everything, many of you who are online and on the internet can reach many thousands of more people by sharing how you feel about the care of the veterans, how important it is. We are confronted with war every day. I tell our nurses, you didn't have to be in war. You turn on the TV and we see people in Palestine and people in the Ukraine being murdered unmercifully. Our veterans experience that, okay? So we have to be sensitive to what they have went through and now meet the needs and help provide some kind of comfort to them. Many of them come to the VA because they're lonely. And many of them have become part of our family because we see them often. I used to see Barry there, often accompanied by Aaron, getting his care there. And we would go up and talk to him. We would make sure that our veterans are cared for. So I just want to say thank you to the veterans, to Vietnam Veterans Against War, and to all our veterans who have served us, and to let them know that Barry's fight and our fight is not over. Thank you.
I want to interject really quickly. You know, the VA staff are awesome, and let's give it up to Adelena and Amy Potter and so many other people who take care of veterans. And you know, I think it's very important to acknowledge Barry was on the forefront of veterans who fought to get PTSD recognized, who fought to get Agent Orange recognized, which, you know, and really advocated for the care of veterans. And the VA, with all its faults, it's an integrated public institution. And Barry understood as a post office worker who worked for over 40 years how important our Chicago public schools are, how important the VA is, how important the post office is, and that was a big part of his activism was being a good union man on top of it. And I think it's very important to recognize that. And Adelena, it's so awesome to have you here. I love the nurses and NMU, and thank you for so many years of work with Barry. And yeah, so Jim Redden's solidarity forever. That's right.
Solidarity forever.
Another union man's gonna speak. Come forward if you'd like.
Thank you.
Got 2 microphones, so I encourage everyone to say something.
So my name is Jim Redden, and I've been with the Rock Veterans Against the War and About Face since about October of 2007. Actually went to an anti-war protest at Union Park, and I wore my Class A uniforms, and I was with my friend who was a part of a socialist group, and then IVAW saw me, and they saw that I was wearing the uniform. They're like, no, you're coming with us. And so I did, and then shortly after that, and I'm not sure exactly when I met Barry, it was either at a house party at Aaron's, but I don't remember much of that because we had Barry and I shared a lot of Tecates at the time. And so the one I do remember was on Veterans Day in '07, and we were doing a celebration of life for another veteran, Bill Davis. Unfortunately, I never got the chance to meet Bill. But something tells me I would have loved him because diehard Bears fan, Union man. He was a Sox fan. He wasn't perfect, but whatever. But I loved him as much as I loved Barry. And Barry Romo, we share a very similar trajectory. As you said, we're both union men, both public sector. He was with the post office. I'm with AFSCME. I'm a human services caseworker in the West Suburban office, as well as a steward there, and trying to build up the union there, trying to build up labor power there. And we also came from very working class, deeply religious backgrounds. He was Roman Catholic. Was more evangelical. And a lot of baggage from that, obviously, and both of us also eventually ended up leaving those faith traditions. But we also shared a sense of moral seriousness, that it can't just be about you. This life can't just be about you. You have to help other people, and you have to do what is right, and you have to do what is just. And Barry had to have been one of the smartest people I knew. I could bring up a topic and he would know something about it. Like, we were driving down to Austin for the 2010 IVAW convention, and we were riding shotgun and switching back and forth, who was driving and who wasn't. And I remember saying, "Hey Barry, that one Sting song, We Dance Alone, about Pinochet's Chile, about the disappeared. Do you know about this song?" And of course he knew about that song. And then for the next 2 hours, we talked about Pinochet and about November 11th, 1973, and about how a democratically elected socialist, Allende, got thrown out of power and got murdered in the presidential palace. And then we started talking about Bolivia, and we started talking about Cuba, and before you know it, we were in Austin, Texas. And then on the ride back, I was driving 90 miles per hour on Route 44, and unfortunately I got stopped and I got a speeding ticket. And at the time, I was broke as a joke, and so he paid my ticket for me. And in recent days, after the pandemic, I could tell Barry he was slowing down a little bit. We all saw it. Like Millard back there, he also told me to my face that I was a motherfucker and a racist, because I said something, off-putting about Kamala Harris. Actually, it was about a year ago on Memorial Day in Aaron's backyard. But you know what? At the end of that hangout session, we hugged and we said how much we loved each other, and we moved on. And it's the next front is this whole Gaza situation. This is the next front, and just like back in his day was the Vietnam War. And in my day, I could say my day now, it was the Iraq War, and now it's Gaza, and we really got to do something about this. So, in the words of, won't you please come to Chicago? Thank you.
Come on,
Oh, Adam, thank you very much. And our fellow veteran and comrade, Adam Navarro, was also very deeply influenced by Barry. And I'm going to read a statement from him. I write these words thinking about the life of Barry Romo, sitting on a Sicilian beach looking over the Mediterranean Ocean. Wow, what a lucky guy. Barry Romo was a very important figure to me in my journey of healing since the day we met, which was Memorial Day of '06. In fact, the moment we met at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial on the Chicago River, we embraced without exchanging any words, and Barry gave one of his famous bear hugs. He was the first person to see and acknowledge the deep pain I was feeling from one combat veteran to another. He would always let me know that things were going to be okay. I was hoping to visit Barry this August. I will see you on the other side, brother. Thank you for all you did for us in this life and those whose lives you touched. Barry Romo, you left the world a better place than you found it. Eternally grateful. And please come to Chicago, June, Democratic Convention. It's happening again. And Milwaukee.
Hello, my name is Robert Naiman. Some of you know me. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I came up from Champaign-Urbana for this, and I'm in the process of moving to Chicago, so I hope I will see many of you more often. And one of the reasons I'm moving is to try to help with projecting a peace message for Chicago DNC. I have to leave soon to get the train back to the 405 train back to Champaign, but I want to share a couple brief Barry Romo stories. Also, I want to say how much I appreciated both here and at the memorial, how nobody's sugarcoating the fact that Barry could be hard to deal with. But also, you know, let he was without sin cast the first stone. Many of us have suffered in various ways the things that warped Barry, but we also really all appreciated how self-sacrificing and generous and what a mentor he was, and really for me, and I think for many others, use whatever words you want, a father figure. So a couple Barry Romo stories. First of all, there's a group of us in Champaign-Urbana who were peace activists who were very much influenced by VVAW, especially starting around the time of the first Gulf War in 1990. We had a big movement there that Jeff Machota, who's not here, and I helped start, but many of you know, and Joe Miller was very active in. There was a Veterans Caucus of the Committee Against the War in the Gulf, and Barry came down all the time, as Joe said, as other people said. He was very generous of his time. Anytime there was any opportunity to come down, especially to talk to students and talk to young people. And relative to him, I was a younger person in the period when I first knew him. I remember hanging out with him, probably at his apartment on Marshfield, I can't remember. But I ventured to say to him, I ventured to ask him, as we got to know each other, what year he was drafted to go to Vietnam. And he said, quite forthrightly, I'll never forget this, I wasn't drafted. I volunteered. I was a good Catholic boy. I wanted to kill communists for freedom. And the forthright hammer way he said that connects with me with, you know, what he used, like a therapist, he used himself. He used his own life experience, being totally transparent. That's in what I saw, how we help move young people, like our friend the teacher was saying when Barry Romo talked to a class of high school students, and there were students who were never the same after they heard that. So that's one thing, Barry being forthright about the fact that he volunteered because he was a good Catholic boy who wanted to kill communists for freedom. Another very sharp memory I have of Barry is during the period of the second Iraq War, when there was this huge movement, which many of you will remember, and then once the war started, it stopped, was intimidated, suppressed, people got discouraged, gave up, whatever. And then in 2005, 2006, it started to come back. I'm wearing a hat This is my Move On hat from that time. And as it came back, and I was working with Move On at the time, the camel's nose under the tent, the thin end of the wedge was these vigils that Move On was organizing. And some people on the left complained about the vigils, like, vigils? Why are we having vigils? Should be more militant. And there was a conversation about this that Barry said to me, the vigils are not for me. I do not need the vigils. I, Barry Romo, do not need the vigils. The vigils are for the new people. The vigils are so new people feel safe to come into our movement. And I saw this very much organizing in Champaign-Urbana. One of our most dedicated, effective volunteer organizers was a woman whose son was deployed to Iraq. And she was very against the war, very pissed off at Bush, but she was also very engaged with other moms of young men, or young soldiers, mostly men, who were deployed to Iraq. She was super sensitive about anything, being anywhere near anything that could be portrayed or perceived as against the troops, against the soldiers. So when I connect those two things in my mind, you know, how important it is, as much as we immerse ourselves and get jaded and we know everything, to remember that like the top thing is be welcoming to the new people. We need more people. We need to be a welcoming space for these people. And that's why we're having a vigil, because for some people this is their first demonstration, and they're questioning. We want them to feel welcome to join our ranks. Barry Romo was a great disciple and evangelist of that, and I will always carry that with me as a reminder of how I want to be, and I want us to be at our best. And I'm thinking about this very much with respect to Chicago DNC. How to project, how can we cooperate and do everything we can to project a peace message that's majoritarian, that speaks to the majority of Americans, that is, you know, people want to burn American flags, First Amendment, people want to carry pictures of Biden when they have their mustache, First Amendment, but there's a huge group of Americans that don't want endless war, that don't want the policies that we're seeing in Gaza now, and I want to do everything I can to help us project to those Americans. So, see you in the next 3 months and August 19th for DNC.
Department anymore, and Che was the most beautiful collie husky you could ever know. Anybody remember Che? Okay, the old memories. And the other thing nobody's mentioned, and a way I think to bring community together that Barry always did, and I know most of you have been there, was make the most delicious Mexican chili ever. Like there's no way that anybody can make a better dish. And if you don't know the recipe, I try to make it. It's not as good as Barry's. It's, I think, a little close. You gotta use hominy, which is one of the secret ingredients. You gotta make it kind of brothy, not too thick. And you have to eat it with those you love, give it to people you meet, and you have to just remember that food and love go together. And if anybody has the exact recipe, please share it. If not, do your best. But I would look so forward to those giant cauldrons and Marshfield of that chili that I could never get enough of. So to Barry, feeding us as well as inspiring us.
name is Crystal Cologne. I met Barry in 2011, less than a year after being discharged from the military. Barry's mentorship is a big reason that I am standing here before you all and not just becoming another sad statistic. He taught me how to live with the rage, survivor's guilt, and lifelong injuries associated with my military experience, which is something they don't tell you about before you join the military, of course. And it's something that's really difficult to find afterwards. He was always a beacon of light in those dark times and was always willing to open up his home to anyone that was struggling or needed to talk or just wanted to hang out and have a drink. Barry was kind of always there for all of us. He taught me how to organize and build community. He taught me how to care for others and attempt to regain my humanity. He taught me how to be a friend and always show up for people. I have so many wonderful memories with Barry and a new organizing work, veteran stand-down duties, the NATO protests, Memorial Day events, publicly speaking to school children about our military experiences. And of course, we had several nights where we had one too many drinks at Quenchers or any other place that we happened to end up at. I will miss his mentorship, his stubbornness, and most importantly, his huge hugs. A quick thank you to Aaron, Nikki, Roberto, and everyone else that had a part in throwing this together. I'm sure Barry would be very happy with the outcome and the fact that so many of us have shown up for him when he showed up for all of us. And thank you, you guys, for a wonderful job putting this together.
I'll make it quick. So, Jackson Potter, I grew up with Barry, and as a teenager, you know, he had that edginess that was like, yeah, Barry's kind of punk rock, and it endeared me to him. And so when he came to talk to my classroom as a teacher at Englewood High School and Kurt Hilgendorf as well, you know, I figured I had arrived, that, you know, these were the last days. I wouldn't be called down to the principal's office anymore. And lo and behold, Barry speaks to my classes, and after he leaves, I'm called down to the principal's office. And then Aaron, I didn't tell you this, Aaron, but Aaron came to my classes at the back of the yard, and lo and behold, after he leaves, I'm called down to the principal's office. Needless to say, it's because they were sharing a message that resonated and countered, you know, the ROT sergeants in the building, and I'm confident, and you know, when I was kind of a newer teacher at Englewood High School, I was a rookie, you know, throwing grand slams, you know, to the receiving hitters every period. And Barry came in, you know, before I kind of had master classroom management, and he like went toe to toe with students that had hard lives. And I am confident, you know, I would bring him in for 5 periods, my whole schedule for a day, and he would do it without complaint, and you know, that's a heavy-duty schedule, and it was his penance, right? And I am 1,000% positive, partly because one of our students who graduated and became a lawyer with the Chicago Teachers Union, LaToya Kimbrough, you know, talks about how her service with the military was cut short because of the ethics that she learned in that class with Barry, you know, so he wasn't able to convince her not to go, but he was able to convince her to come back. And, you know, countless other students who I think he impacted, and so, you know, let's keep that alive. As Empire continues, we need to thwart it.
Hey, my name is Naomi. I met Barry mostly through activism, being involved in the anti-war movement during the Iraq War, and I was screening documentaries in my day job at the Chicago Cultural Center, and this amazing program called Community Cinema that was nationwide. And we would partner with a public television station in each city. And so I was partnering with WTTW, but they pretty much let me alone, and I just booked some pretty radical voices after each film. And then the program was growing in popularity, And as it grew, TTW was sort of getting more and more on its radar. And then I had a screening coming up of Latinos in Vietnam, and I'm like, of course I'm putting Barry Romo on that panel. And then I have a meeting with TTW, and they're like, oh, we have a board member who's Latino, who has friends who were in Vietnam, and he wants to be involved in this screening. And I'm like, holy shit. And so it was too late. You know, I put Barry on the panel, of course, but then I get a phone call from this board member. And he said, hey, I Googled the guy you put on the panel, and you got to kick him off. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And I said, listen, I've done events with veterans, and the one thing I can tell you is difference of opinion is not an issue. And that the veterans I know, only a veteran can understand what a veteran has been through. And that the veterans support each other, and they have each other's back. And I promise you, this is gonna be a great event. And you can put your friends on the panel, and yes, your friend can sing a song, because he was adamant that one of his friends is gonna sing. And I said, it's gonna be great. Don't worry about a thing. And the event happens, and it was amazing. And then he hands his friend this guitar, and the friend sings God Bless America, and Barry Romo stands up and salutes him. And that's just my Barry Romo story. Love that man.
Several veterans who I will remain anonymous loved the chili but complained about the chili on the toilet. Thinking about Barry Romo. Also, thank you, Joan, for reminding me. People also loved his barbecue too. So.
I first met Barry, I think about 1987, 86, 87, whenever Chicago had the parade for the Vietnam era vets. And next time I saw him was probably about 2002. We were in the phase of the Afghanistan and soon to be Iraq wars. So we worked together off and on probably for the past 20 plus years. And I've roomed a little bit with Barry in the hotel, so I know a lot of your stories and stuff and the things how Barry could be, I found of interest. He's been to my house numerous times. I'm certainly going to miss him. But the thing that has struck me today, listening to all of you and your stories, is the influence across all types of disciplines that he had. It's more than us vets that are here. It's union workers, all kinds of people that are interested in social justice across this country. Every one of you, young students, you were that first encountered Barry, changed by him. Older people, it didn't matter. The guy could touch all kinds of lives. So I think he's left a very positive legacy. And it's the younger folks in this room today that leaves me feeling hopeful and stuff. I think things have got a chance in their good hands, and Barry played a huge part in that and the many things he did in his life. So I'm going to miss Barry. Certainly he's in a better place now. Maybe the time will come when we'll see each other again. I don't know, but certainly appreciated the time he was in my life. Thank you.
What happens to a damaged hero? What happens when a person wakes up from the fog of a war and realizes that they would have killed or would have been killed for what was a lie? What happens when a person realizes everything they've been taught for the past 19 or 20 years was false? What happens to a person when we fight against the injustices they once participated in and find out that no real change is possible. My name is Ken Nielsen. I'm a veteran of the Army Infantry. For a short period of time, I was on the VVAW national staff with Barry and a number of other people that are here. Worked security for Winter Soldier, and I had the opportunity to work obviously very closely with Barry. He gave his life to work for peace and justice, and in some ways his life was taken from him by the movement. He was a mentor as well as a warning, in my mind. He helped an untold number of veterans from many wars. Through doing that for so many years, he was never able to put his experiences entirely behind him, perform self-care, and build a life outside of the movement. Barry's legacy lives on in all of us and everyone he touched. We can use his example for what we should do and possibly for what we shouldn't do. Direct our energy into action, maintain a community of care and respect. Don't let our demons overtake our judgment. Don't submit to the allure of self-medication and the spiritual sapping that it causes. The struggle will be long and hard, and it's going to require stamina. We talked a lot about Gaza here tonight. It's I think one of the most important things we have to fight for right now, amongst a whole list of other things. But right now, this brings light to how corrupt our government really is and how we need to do something about it. So let's continue the fight for peace and justice that Barry dedicated his life to. And like I said, I believe that he gave his life for that. He gave his life for that. Many people to hear today, he had to revisit those stories over and over again to let us know what happened and to encourage other people not to let it happen again. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Ashton. I live in Redlands, California, and my mom and my aunt were just about to sneak out, so I ran up here. My uncle went to high school with Barry, and my mom and aunt could not because it was all boys school. So they met Barry through my uncle. And Barry impacted my life greatly. He invited us once. My story is to go camping. I was 16 years old. We traveled, we went to the VVAW campground site that somebody spoke of, and I sat around and listened and internalized all the stories of the men, and I still remember them, and just wanted to say thank you.
I'm just going to say a few additional words. One, before everybody leaves here, you have to take a veteran with you. These veterans that are on that table, they were in Barry Romo's apartment. Jeff sent them to him, and Jeff said, bring them to the memorial and pass them out. And I know Romo would have been serious about passing those out, so I want to invite everyone to take those. And these are all the things that are on these tables are just a very slim amount of some of the things that are at Romo's place. And VVAW, the family, all of us in IVAW, the community here, we want you guys to have. So please leave here with your hands full of a shirt or a button, or if you know somebody that you think might want it. I also just gotta say two other things that just like popped in my mind. Barry he's fucking in it till the end. Last summer when Leonard passed away, Leonard Shelton, was on one of the original speaking tours for Iraq Veterans Against the War, and traveled around in the bus. And it was pretty clear that it didn't seem like anybody from our community was going to be at his funeral. And Barry, last summer, man, he mobilized. And we got in a car, Michael, Applegate, Roberto, myself, and he had some serious health issues. I was holding his hand so he could walk down the street. But he was in for it. He's like, yes.
He was afraid to take a shower.
But he was like, let's go. And I still remember we ended up staying in some really weird, it was like a Ramada Inn. But it was massive. It was like the biggest hotel ever. But it was like maybe hadn't been upkept in like 20 fucking years. And it was like clear that nobody wanted to stay there. But we needed a place to stay. Anyways, we got 2 hotel rooms, and I bunked up with Romo. And I don't know. I'm grateful that how he was always just ready to be there for people. And that was all the way into April 27th. So this space that we're in is Co-Prosperity Sphere, and they're hosting an exhibition for the Prison Neighborhood Arts Education Project, and the think tank at Stateville Prison. And Barry came out to that opening. And when he got here, I walked him in and I sat him down. There was food and there was celebration, and I sat him down next to Atzia Fair. Atzia Fair is Darryl Fair's mother. Darryl Fair is in prison at Stateville. He's a Chicago police torture survivor, and he's a Marine Corps veteran. And he started the Stateville Veterans Group, and he just lost a Supreme Court case in Illinois, basically stating that he wasn't fucking tortured enough. I knew an Atzia Fair was a bus driver, Chicago bus driver for 30-some years. And I sat them down together because I knew that they would just connect, and because that was his people. And that's Darryl Fair's painting right there, and those 2 right there, Justice is Love. And he listened to Ronaldo Hudson speak. He listened to Jimmy Soto speak, this guy that had been in prison, wrongfully accused for over 40 years. He listened to Ronaldo, who was on death row. And then I walked him out. It was time to go. Nikki and Josie Redden drove him home. And we walked him to the car. I put him in the car. And I said, Barry, I love you. He said, I love you. He gave me a big hug. I said, what'd you think of the event? He said, it was the best ever. Because that's what it was. For him, these spaces of community, these spaces of politics, these spaces of culture, that's what it was all about. And I just wanted you guys to know this space that you're in, the artworks that you're among, and that this is the last political event place that he came. And I'm grateful for him. Yeah.
I I just want to, in addition to bringing Leonard home, when Barry was in failing health, he always honored people. When Anthony Wagner passed away tragically from an overdose, Barry was there. When Jacob George passed away, Barry was there. I drove with Barry to Iowa City for Joshua Castile's funeral. We were some of the only people there. From Jose Vasquez was there, but there were very few people who were able to attend. Like, Barry always really was thoughtful about honoring people's social memory, and I'm really appreciative of the space this morning at 11 a.m. and hear that we can do this for Barry, because he honored so many people who were so important to our community, and I didn't even know many of the people who passed when he was younger, but I wish I had, and I was able to learn about his stories and have their memories because of Barry's work.
Hello, everybody. My name is Daniel Corral. But Barry always called me Nenny. That's my family nickname. It's been an honor to get to know Barry and to love him and to be, his brother and his friend. And there's a book that I love that was written in El Salvador, and it's called Piezas para un retrato, and that means like pieces of a picture, right? And so after Oscar Romero, who was Archbishop who was murdered in 1980, after he was killed, a set of writers went down there to write his biography, and they said, you know what, the only way we're going to do that is to talk to everybody who loved him, who knew and loved him. So they did that. They talked to him, they talked to all of the people who knew and loved him, and it's an amazing book. It's a huge book, but you read it and you see in each person's story a piece of the picture, a piece of the image, right? And like always listening to people who knew and loved Barry, not just tonight, but every day. It's always been an honor to get to know all of Barry through the ones who loved him and knew him, And that's all of you. And it's just been so beautiful to see those pieces of that picture and to witness that, And I just want to thank you all for doing that, for being a piece of that picture that loved Barry. No matter how long you loved him, like he had a way of loving someone like you were the only person he loved, right? And so he got to know you super personally and individually, and I just want to thank his family for sharing him, and his friends, his veteran friends, Edgar. Barry always talked about what a sweet and dear person you are to him, Edgar. Roberto, he always said that you were his son, And I just want to give you a shirt that I found, in his collection that he always kept of your time. If you want to say a little bit about that.
So I've been through several iterations in my political life. And Barry was always there. Chris was been a part of a few as well, and some other people in this room. But
Barry supported 2 housing ordinances. Crystal mentioned the homeless veteran stand down, right? And volunteering there for, decades and bringing younger veterans involved. But part of the reason there's so many homeless veterans is because we have fucked up housing policies. And, veterans are especially affected. I think Kurt said the intersectionality part, and he had a very working class intellectualism around how these issues intersected. So Barry worked on 2 successful housing campaigns. Source of income protections in Cook County, which Chuy Garcia, who was here, introduced and passed at the county level. We thought it would be non-controversial, but there's a lot of racism, and people don't want people to have Section 8 vouchers, be able to use that as a source of income to gain housing. That fucks veterans over when you don't protect the source of income. And it affects it affects women, it affects people of color. But Barry was able to speak to his experience advocating for homeless veterans, and the need to have policies that protected veterans, but in essence protected multiple classes of people. And he also worked on a foreclosure ordinance after the Great Recession that protected, that required the Keep Chicago Renting Ordinance, which our friend Damian Kogan, who's not here, was a lead organizer. Someone else who knew Barry from the U of I community, and Barry spoke to we need to protect veterans in the private market too. So thank you for the shirt. I will hold on to this forever.
What's the shirt?
It's the Metropolitan Tenants Organization shirt, his shirt that Barry had going to actions and things like that. So he was, as many people know, Barry was involved in multiple things and had great politics around a lot of these issues that impact us in the city. So thank you.
Yeah, remember every decision he made was connected to something that he wanted to witness and support, right? So remember, he'd always want to go eat Demo's Pizza. Oh man. And what was that other chicken place?
The honey butter fried chicken.
Yeah, he's like, let's go eat honey fried chicken. I was like, every single thing he did, he was trying to support, he had a consciousness about him that he couldn't just do something unless it showed love to somebody.
He also bought everyone's record, like Al Scorch's. He always supported musicians and people in the community too, along with, people who wanted to do social good.
Yeah, it's been a blessing to go through all of Barry's belongings in the last several weeks and see that, right? See all of Al's albums there. Every book that his friend wrote, maybe 20 copies of each. Even right now, we're still looking at mail. He subscribed to everything, and he gave them money. He gave everybody money. Okay, everybody's we need you. Come on, right, Aaron? Everybody, all the damn letters he's getting. He's so about them $100 that you didn't send last month, and yeah. So he showed love all the time, and that's just been a blessing to look through his personal belongings and see throughout the generations how he loved and how he loved consciously and wholeheartedly, And I want to thank Aaron and Nikki too, and Josie Rand for for taking him out, for loving him the way you did, Everybody loved him, just the way he loved uniquely. Other people loved him uniquely. So I know that every Wednesday you all took him out, or any day you took him out, he couldn't stop talking about that, you know. And he was always looking forward to going out and to doing something. And he always said the same thing, right? We've all been hearing these pieces of the image, right? Like we've been seeing the pieces, like because that's the only way to really love Barry, is to really, you know, really like get to know how he loved everybody, you know, and to witness that, and to respect that, you know, to respect that he loved so many people from all different walks of life in so many different ways, yeah, so it was a blessing to have, you know, one of his girlfriends here. I think she left, right? Patty? But that was his girlfriend. Like he said that like a couple weeks before he passed. He was like, I talked to one of my ex-girlfriends today, one of my, you know, childhood girlfriends, and that's who was here, Patty. And I was like, Barry, you dog. I was like, okay, Barry, I see you, right? And he, you know, Barry was such a, and we all can attest, I love the way he was always a kid at heart, you know, and did little kid things his whole life. Despite his pain, you know, he always had these little quirks about him. And I want to thank you, Al, you know, for loving him so much, you know. And, you know, he couldn't wait to go watch you and Nikki play. And I'm so glad that you have his voice message on your phone. And hopefully we can hear it tonight, but, you know, yeah, you know, so throughout the years, all kinds of people loved Barry, and the way I got to know Barry was, I think just going to art shows, and I noticed that he always had beer in his pocket, you know, and I was like, damn, this guy's kind of cool, you know, but you know, that light that everybody notices, I noticed too, and I was like, and I didn't know a damn thing about him. I was like, you know what, all I know is that he has beer and no one else does here, so I kind of want to be his friend, and you know, and that's how our friendship was. It was just constant nights of hanging out, right? Like movie after movie, time after time. But yeah, like going through his belongings has been such an honor to get to know the pieces of Barry that I didn't know. You know, like, I don't know, there's so many movies about him and documentaries and books, but I feel like to know him and to love him was better than all that, you know, it was better than movies. It was better than what they say true friendship is. So I just want to, you know, be thankful for Barry's friendship and love. And, you know, I have to be honest, I've been super sad because I wanted more years with him, as probably a lot of you did too. You know, I wanted at least 5 to 10 more years, and it makes me really sad. And you know, I've been, you know, but one thing somebody said earlier, that he cried all the time, and it was such a gift to witness him cry. Like, I don't know how many people here who here has watched Smoke Signals with him, you know? He watched Smoke Signals all the time. It was like a movie written about by a Native American person, and it was like a father and son movie. But the other, like 2 nights ago, I'll just share this last thing is, I had a dream that with Barry, and it was amazing. We were hanging out, and we were just watching movies, talking, and in the middle of the night, when he said, go ahead and stay, he woke me up at like 4 or 5 in the morning, and he said, hey, we gotta go. And I was like, well, let's go. I'm gonna get my shoes ready, right? And I'm gonna go. Let's go. And he gave me a big hug that I think a lot of everyone knows. And he said, no, you can't come with me. He said, I have too many people to see, and I have a lot of coffee to drink, and you're not gonna be able to catch up with me. And I was like, damn, that's messed up. You know? And then I woke up, that was, yesterday. And I just cried like a damn baby all day, because, because I felt he was telling us something, and then, but what I want to say about that story is that I haven't been able to cry in years, I think a lot of us as, I don't know, as people, for whatever reason, hold back our tears or just can't cry, even though we want to, we just can't cry. And I want to uplift all the veterans that are here and that knew and loved Barry, because that was just so beautiful to see how he loved all of you and how he understood you, because to be seen and understood is such a gift, especially when that's not really something that happens, And yeah, I just want to be thankful for him helping me as well to release the tears, because I have not been able to do that, and so yeah, it's been kind of like nonstop tears since he passed, but I just want to say thank you all for loving him, and I want to thank you too, Barry, for being such a stand-up, genuine human being who loved everybody, no matter what, and who didn't look at anybody's faults, and who didn't listen to the lies. It's important that he always said, it's important that we love for real and not listen to the lies, to the narrative of lies, and to live as though the truth were true. And so, may we always continue to live as though, our truth were true. Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Al, you were prompted. Do you want to say something? You good?
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Ellie Shunas. I met Barry in, I think, 1972, before he actually settled in Chicago. I was a part of the Chicago area military project camp. We were a support group for projects that did organizing at bases around the country and overseas as well. We also put out a newspaper called Camp News, which was pretty widely circulated. We encouraged people to take our articles and put it into their publications to kind of spread stuff around more. So when Barry came to Chicago and settled, I got to meet him, and we talked about the GI movement and how veterans groups like VVAW should be involved in the GI movement. And he said, yeah, by all means, come on board. So I got to do the VVAW GI movement. And it was not an easy thing at first, because not only am I not a veteran, but I am also a woman. And that was sort of looked askance by a lot of people. But Barry brought me on board, and we did some support stuff for the GI movement. So that's my first go around with Barry. And then, of course, I worked at the post office, so I got to deal with him. We butted heads a lot. A lot.
You don't say.
At the post office, we each belonged to a different union. Unfortunately, there were 2 unions there, and we butted heads a lot. But we were both on the same side ultimately. So that's all I have to say.
Anyone else?
One last thing. A lot of people were saying that his home was like a museum. I think it was more like a library. Yeah, a library with a lot of really cool books. So I have to get going, but nice to see you, great people. And I hope to see you pretty soon.
Hi, my name is Remegio Torres. I first met Barry in 2008. I volunteered at the Winter Soldier Press event run by the Iraq Veterans Against the War. I was part of the security team with Barry chasing away the counter-protesters. And we talk about Barry's hugs, and what I remember about his hugs is that he would always conk my head when he would come in for that hug. And eventually I learned if I just move my head like that, he won't, and it'll be good. And so I'm gonna miss Barry a lot. Last time I saw him was walking by Palmer Square and Logan Square with my family, and it was during the pandemic, so we couldn't hug, but we gave the elbow bump. Rest in power, Barry.
Anyone else? Yeah. Awesome.
I know it's folks are kind of filtering out for time and things like that, and thanks for hanging out. Barry was a big supporter of my music and a great friend, and would often ask me to play for a few years at the memorial service that he did on Veterans Day, or on Memorial Day, I'm sorry, at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial by the river. And so I'd like to play just a song that he always requested, and it's a song I wrote after some years of working with IVAW for a fundraiser. This is how I met Barry, through Roberto and Aaron and Nikki, for a fundraiser that we would do every year called Brew Not Bombs. And it was a chili cook-off and a beer event, as you might imagine. It was great. I met a bunch of those folks through that. And from that point on, Barry was a massive supporter of my music and would come to so many shows and would just constantly be there. And he would always request a song called Poverty Draft that I wrote. And just very much about that, about knowing that the song resonated with him, and that it was, I'm not a veteran, I'm just an American who's seen a lot of people go to war for that reason of trying to pay for college or live a better life. Barry, knowing that Barry held that song in his heart and it moved him and it meant a lot to him, it meant a lot to me. And I have two notable military members in my family that I can think of. I have one uncle who was a lieutenant of the B Company of the 101st Airborne during World War II, and he died in combat during Operation Market Garden. He was a PhD in philosophy from Notre Dame University and officer. And then I have another uncle who had the choice to go to jail or to join the Army in the 70s. So I think about those two those two folks in my family, and I visited the site in Holland where my one uncle passed away, and after that I went to a friend's house over there and had some time to write. I wrote this song and played it and recorded it, and knowing that it was knowing that Barry loved it meant a lot to me, and he always asked me to play it, so I'll play it. It's called The Poverty Draft. Black country girl, Mississippi, white boy, a big city, hillbilly. Doesn't matter your race, just your class. Send you to college and on top you get paid. The fight for freedom pays more than minimum wage. But if you don't make it through as one of the proud and the few who don't come back battered and tattered, sick or maimed, those trauma deniers and tuition check signers can say all that we did was ask, and that's the hell of the poverty draft. They say it's just like a video game. Disassociate you frame by frame. When comes the pain, you just might break. But you took the job for the money, shrapnel for your country. Took a life so that others might live. Brother, that we forget. Live or die, that was it. If you close your eyes, fire lights up the sky. The wails and the cries are some hellish refrain. Demons, they haunt you. Uncle Sam, he still wants you to get on the big airplane again. Back home to war without end. And he says, young woman, look how you've changed. An army of one strong, warrior's brain. Your friends and family seem strange. Your first name fades, and a cycle of sickness remains. So yeah, a heavy song and a sad song, and knowing that it run true with Barry's all made me feel all right about playing it. and I'll play one more. I think that Barry would like too. It's an Irish song from the Napoleonic War. The first written lyrics were from the 1820s. They found it written down in Scotland, and it's about two poor Irish kids kicking the shit out of an English recruiting sergeant and pick him up. And I think Barry might approve of that message. So the fellow and his cousin are walking along the seashore, and they come across the sergeant, and he's like, "Join the army, we'll give you money." And the guy and his cousin are like, "No, you won't. You'll send us to France, and we'll get shot with a cannon." And the sergeant's like, "Well, I'm gonna beat you up." And they're like, "No, we're gonna beat you up." That's how the song goes. Me and my cousin, one Arthur McBride, as we went walking down by the seaside. Now mark what follows, and what did betide? The day being Christmas morning, I'm sorry. It's one of these things. Let me try this again. Me and my cousin, one Arthur McBride, as we went walking down by the seaside. Now mark what followed, and what did betide? The day being Christmas morning. For recreation we went on a tramp. We met Sergeant Napper and Corporal Vamp, and a little wee drummer intending to camp. The day being pleasant and charming. Good morning, the sergeant had cried. The same to you, gentlemen, we did reply. Intending no harm, we meant to pass by. The day being Christmas morning. But says he, my fine fellows, if you will enlist, it's 10 guineas in gold I will slip in your fist, and a crown in the bargain for to kick up the dust, and drink the king's health in the morning. For a soldier he leads a very fine life, and he always is blessed with a charming young wife, and he pays all his debts without sorrow or strife, and always is pleasant and charming. And a soldier he always is decent and clean, in the finest of clothing he's constantly seen, while other poor fellows go dirty and mean, and sup on thin gruel in the morning. But says Arthur, I wouldn't be proud of your clothes, for you've only the land
friend of them, as I suppose, and you dare not change them one night, for you know, if you do, you'll be flogged in the morning. And we have no desire to take your advance. All hazards and dangers we barter on chance, for you would have no scruples but to send us to France, where we would get shot without warning. And though we are both decent and free, we take great delight in our own company, and we have no desire strange places to see, although that your offers are charming. So he says thanks, but no thanks. And the sergeant says, oh no, said the sergeant, I'll have no such chat, and I neither will take it from spalpeen or brat. And if you insult me with one other word, I'll cut off your head in the morning. This is where it gets interesting. Then Arthur and I, we threw up our odds, and we scarce gave them time for to draw their own blades, when a trusty shillelagh came over their heads and bade them take that as fair warning. And their rusty old rapiers that hung by their side, we flung them as far as we could in the tide, and cried, take them out the both, did Arthur McBride, and bid them look sharp in the morning. And the little wee drummer, we flattened his pow, and we made a football of his rowdy-dow-dow. That's his drum. And we threw it in the tide for to rock and to roll, and bade it a tedious returning. And having no money, we paid them off in cracks. We gave no respect to their two bloody backs, as we lathered them there like a pair of wet sacks, left them for dead in the morning. And so to conclude and to finish disputes, we obligingly asked if they wanted recruits, for we were the lads who would give them hard clouts and bid them look sharp in the morning. Me and my cousin, one Arthur McBride, as we went walking down by the seaside. Now a mark would follow, and what did betide, being on Christmas morning. I miss Barry a lot. I miss playing for him. Long live Barry Romo. Thanks everybody. Thanks for letting me play.
Thank you, Al. That was beautiful. Who gets live music like this for the memorial? Barry was so special. There's so many people who wish they could be here. He touched so many people's lives. You know, he came from a modest background, but he did so many exceptional things with his life. Let's give it up for our videographer, Thomas, for working all day. To everyone who donated, to everyone who's been a part of this, I think this would have meant a lot to Barry. You know, if it weren't for our community coming together, Barry would have not had a memorial or funeral, and this is it, and his life was one that deserved to be remembered, so. Bueno más. To Barry Romo. Viva Barry! Viva Barry! Long live Barry! Long live Barry! Salud! Salud!
To carry on his legacy.
Yes. Anyone else?
Love you, Barry.
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 Woo!
Okay, no, but
Sounds good here now.
right?